Hi folks, welcome to Stories Around the Candle. This here story is brought to you by Bob's Beer Market. You rack 'em, we sack 'em. And now we dive deep into the latest story called Death's Contraptions. The guns were loaded. The time was now. They had been hiding out. They had been resurrecting their great revelations, their great masterpieces, their great inventions, not together. The brothers Parsley didn't even have any idea what either of them were doing. They lived three separate lives, but were all raised by one insane father who had a single set dream to raise them up as mad, great, terrible inventors of the most daunting inventions that life itself had ever seen. They marched into town that afternoon to set up shop right at the very center of town square. They were dead set on the very fact that they knew their creations would change life completely, yet they didn't know it would all soon go terribly wrong. They had got into contact with each other quite some time ago, as a sort of way to brag about what each of them were creating. They wouldn't tell a single thing about their separate inventions, but they decided to devise a bet that whenever all three brothers were completed with their devices and ready to make profit on such contraptions, the three of them would set themselves up at the very center of town to see which invention was really the best. Now, as they come to the very center of town square on this fine July summer day, they each unload their devilish-like deeds and finally announce, "We are the brothers Parsley, and we are here to change the life you live altogether," said Tom, the eldest brother. "Come on, come all, to see which invention is the best. We promise you won't be the same from this moment on," said Tim, the youngest of the three. The middle brother, Alex, just stood there, very proud and nonchalantly smirked, and said nothing, for he had almost arrogant conviction that his invention would surely be the best. As time went on, each citizen of the town who were around at the time tried each invention out. The brothers grew hasty and very impatient at the reactions and looks upon the people's faces, for they didn't quite seem amused at all. Tom himself really felt his machine that could know what any human that was using the machine was thinking, and then magically turn the thought into physical reality would really win the whole world over, let alone give a great surprise to the people who lived in the same town as him. But there were not. As a matter of fact, each person that tried out such an all-knowing invention had grew quite disgusted that such a thing could even be. For I'm sure you know by now, just from living this life, that you yourself, and anyone you could possibly know, like to have privacy of their mind, and for someone or something to be able to know their deepest, darkest subconscious mind, and to be able to create it into physical reality so mechanically and cold would frighten anyone who even came into the slightest contact with such a thing. Furthermore, the most disgusted client of the whole operation were a man by the name of Sir Albert Greasley. He had asked what such a thing was, and Tom had told him, "Why, my dear sir, this is simply put a thought creator. It takes whatever the person is thinking the most at the time and actually creates it into reality. Would you like to try such a masterpiece of a machine out? Why, most certainly. There's no possible way such a thing could exist. It won't even be able to dial in the smallest brain frequency. I'm already most certain that you are a fraud, sir, the old man said with such distaste. Nonetheless, the great and wise Sir Albert Griesling, the current mayor of the town, walked up to the wretched device and strapped it on. There was a headpiece that simply was put over the brain that was connected to the rest of the machine. Tom hit a button and poof, there, seated upon the very center of town, was a reincarnation of a dead black man, hanging from a noose that looked as if he were tried in Albert's court and found guilty and now hanging dead. The whole town was completely astonished. They all knew who the dead man was, or a premonition at least. It seemed as if old Al was dead set on his ways to see Arnold Flats guilty and hung for charges of killing a white man. The hearing was scheduled 2 weeks from this very day, and the whole town now knew that the old wretched Albert, the old grumpy court judge, had not even the slightest bit of an open mind. The hearing hadn't even happened, and he already wanted the poor black man dead. I will have you arrested for tampering with my own deep personal thoughts. Dark or not, this is absolutely unheard of. It's a breach on my own mind. You, Sir Tom Parsley, shall be arrested, said the old judge. I will not. I just simply gave you what you wanted. You didn't believe me, and you wanted to try yourself, and I, you dark son of a bitch, gave you what you wanted. Now that will be $5 for the creation and $150 if you so willingly want to buy the machine. Albert then walked slowly over to Tim's machine and asked, Now what does this horrible contraption do? This is a thought stabilizer. It takes whatever thought that has been created in whatever form and brings it into a much more stable form, said Tim. The judge walked to the next device and asked, And what is this final hunk of junk breed? Alex, the middle brother, told him, This is a thought killer. It takes whatever thought that has been created and formed, stabilized, interpreted in any kind of way, and absolutely murders it. All right, brothers Parsley, I want to see them all work at once, this very instant. All three brothers took a long, hard, and painfully fearful look at one another. Then Alex had his trademark sly smirk again and said, As you wish, sir. All three brothers fired up the machines all at once. The black man that had been hung a while ago instantly transformed into an older woman that looked exactly like Albert Griesling's mother. That must be my thought stabilizer working, said Tim, feeling much obliged. She walked slowly over to a puzzled-looking Albert, smiling, drew out a rusty old blade and murdered the old judge right there on the spot. And that must be my thought killer doing its destined deed. Once again he smirked and said nothing. The townspeople then went into a panicked fury. Sure, old Judge Albert was a rotten old man, but it was just the thought he had. The brothers actually killed a man with their murderous machines. You three will die tonight. You three will die tonight. You three will die tonight, they all repeatedly chanted to the charmingly guilty men as three officers handcuffed them and took them off to the county jail. Again, thank you folks for listening to the story. It is brought to you by Bob's Beer Market. You rack 'em, we sack 'em.